I think my story begins the same way it does for a lot of guys out there. Meeting a Thai girl in a bar and everything turning into a complete nightmare. 1 minute you are out, going to the bars, talking to the ladies and enjoying life. Next, you find yourself catching feelings for someone you know deep down is bad news. I'd been flying out to Thailand on and off for around 4 years, and this was my 5th time landing back in the country. Anyone who's spent time in Bangkok would probably agree 5 trips in 4 years isn't anything out of the ordinary. People travel there way more times than me in the same amount of years, and some people never return to their country. Even people who don't like it on the first trip always end up coming back at some point in their life. And you can hardly blame them. When you are stuck dealing with the hopeless mess that dating back home has become, it's easy to see how Bangkok can start to feel like a habit you don't want to kick. Women in the West look down on us now. The whole feminist thing and them thinking they are better than everyone else. It's not a mystery why plenty of single men leave their countries. A lot of judgmental men will say that we only go to Thailand because we can't get a woman in our own country, which is just not true. It's because we don't want a woman in our country. Anyway, in Bangkok, I usually end up going out on Sukhumvit Road, Soi 11, Soi 21, Soi 8, and, of course, Nana Plaza. People will know that when you are on holiday and drinking around Sukhumvit Road, you are bound to end up at Nana at some point. Another one of the places I used to go was Kawasan Road, but now I feel way too old if I go there. It's full of young, fit backpackers, an area where I feel totally out of place. I've made plenty of mistakes in the past in Nana Plaza, where I go with the first girl that approaches me and it turns out to be a complete waste. So on this night, I wanted to actually take my time and talk to a few girls that were working there. Not wanting to mess things up, I take my time and sit down with a group of women. I can't remember the name of the bar, but it's on the bottom floor. It's one of those that isn't as crazy as the other bars in there. But, as usual, I end up picking the one who's showing off the most, that is dancing and flirting. She is doing all the things that are usually enough to grab my attention and make me forget about everything else. Before I could even act like I was interested in her, I noticed the woman right beside me. She was about 6 inches away from me, but I hadn't seen her before because her friend was doing all the flashy, showing off stuff. I've always gone for the girls who look the most attractive, and it almost always ended up badly for me. Just because they are very attractive, it doesn't mean they are nice people. I don't know if it was because I was in a tipsy state, but right there in Nana, I sat back and I knew I had to make a change. I was sick of waking up to another dumb mistake. I didn't have to keep embarrassing myself night after night. I decided to skip the girl who looked like she would take me for an absolute crazy roller coaster of a ride, and I turned to the quiet one at my side. She sat there looking shy and innocent, barely speaking or drawing any attention. It was a totally different vibe, and I felt like maybe this time would play out better. I started chatting with her, but she wasn't flirting with me at all. She didn't even seem interested in talking with me. And I don't know why, but that made me want her even more. No matter how shy they seem, if they are in Nana, then you know they are doing some type of work there. By now, we all know the drill. She starts with the same old tale about growing up in Isan and barely scraping by, begging for someone to pull her out of that line. She tells me how she and her sister work endless hours for almost nothing, sending it back to her family in Isan, and how all she really wants is a man to look after them. She hates doing bar work and dreams of doing something different and having a good life for her children. Before I knew it, what began as a quick and fun night together had turned into me as her full-time boyfriend. For the next 2 or 3 months, we did everything together. Every time I went out, she'd be by my side, whether it be out in the day just passing time or going out at the bars at night. She would be with me. We travelled all over Thailand, with me, of course, paying for everything. We even took a trip to her hometown to meet the parents and the rest of the family. It was during that time that I got the dreadful feeling that all of us hope we never get. Yes, I felt that mine was different from the rest, that I'd finally found someone who isn't a complete nightmare to be with. We really were inseparable, and she never once asked me for a single baht. We said all the sappy lines you'd expect, we'll be together forever, and that kind of stuff. Looking back, it sounds and feels very cringy, but back then, it was the closest I've ever come to a real, actual connection with a bar girl. Just so you know, I've been around the block with relationships, both in Thailand and my own country. I've always had my head screwed on and never once got played, so I've been pretty lucky. Knowing that, there's absolutely no excuse for the complete fool I was about to become. It didn't take long to see she wasn't the typical Bangkok bar girl everyone talks about. She had this genuine personality that set her apart from the rest. As I felt things were getting pretty serious between us, and we were now practically in a real relationship, I wanted to see just how serious and genuine she was. I told her straight up that I wasn't dropping cash on her every day just because she's my girlfriend, and if she really cared, then our whole relationship shouldn't be about money or whether I can support her. I do have my own money. I've always worked since a young age, and for the most part, I've been sensible with saving money. So yeah, I could afford to pay her, but really, who wants a relationship where you have to pay your girlfriend to be with you? That's not exactly a real relationship. I know people do that in Thailand, but I felt like it just wasn't for me. Besides, I'm too cheap for that. I suggested she continues going to Nana and working on Fridays and Saturdays and earns her own cash like she always has done. I'm not sure why, but it really didn't bother me for her to be working some nights. As long as she told me what she was doing, then I was fine. It was still early days, and after those first couple of months of being with each other non-stop, I felt like I could have 1 or 2 days a week by myself, so her working wasn't really a problem. At the same time, I must admit, I had a couple of other girls on the go who were normal women with real day jobs, so the weekend to myself was perfect. I could split the time between them. It's a real relief to date girls who've never worked the bar scene. Once you spend time with someone like that, you start to see how rough things get for the usual bar girls and how they can act more like wild animals than real people. So, we agreed that she would work Friday and Saturday night, and now and again I'd be able to go out on my own just to sit at the bars, talk to people, and have fun. I had to promise her that I wouldn't meet any other girls though. Even though I already had, I still made her that promise. This is where the first red flag started. Every time I'd go out on my own or with a friend bar hopping, she'd always end up at the bar where I was. The first time it happened, I just thought it was a coincidence. But after the third or fifth time, I started to question it. I'd even go to random bars that aren't known to have bar girls or a tourist nightlife, but she would still end up around that area. It was clear that someone was telling her where I was. But I just let it go. Looking back, maybe I should have paid a bit more attention to it. One time, she started to get very jealous and clingy toward me. Wanted to know everything about when I went out. Always wanted to come with me and be with me day and night. She turned into a bit of a wreck, as if she'd break down if I left her, and it would always make me feel guilty every time that I went out alone. With her type of work though, and the way she looks, she could have easily found a different Farang boyfriend. It wouldn't have been hard for her. I didn't understand why she had to be so attached to me. This bar girl was actually different though, and I'm not just saying that in the way that I really liked her. I mean, she'd get crushed if I even asked for some space for the night. And that, my friends, is where the real problem started. I reckon the big mistake most guys make is that when a woman really depends on you, especially an Isan girl struggling to get by, it brings out those natural instincts in men to become a saviour and try to protect her. It made a change actually. I'd never had the feeling of a woman actually needing me, despite being in plenty of relationships. That was something new for sure. Back home, things are changing so fast, and we are getting left behind. Women in the West no longer need a man. They want to be strong, independent women. And that's really how I ended up diving headfirst into this whole Thailand mess. This is the point where most of us, and every fool about to make the same mistakes, just ignore all of the red flags. Any bit of common sense disappears, and it's like we are headed straight down a one-way street to complete disaster. One night, we were out in Bangkok around Sukhumvit Road in an expat area. Just a normal night out, me and her. We were in one of those bars that had many expats in it. There were two guys that kept looking over at me and my girl, and once my girl noticed them, I could see that she got very, very nervous and wanted to leave. I asked her what was wrong, and she just replied, "Nothing, let's just go." Clearly, she knew them, or at least one of them. As we were about to leave, one of them came to me and said, "As a man, I think I should warn you, she is trouble." I heard every single word loud and clear, and you'd think that would spark some kind of smart thought in my head, right? But no, I just put it down to him being a jealous ex-customer of hers or something like that. How I wish I could have gone back, taken his advice, gotten rid of her, and stayed drinking with them. Fast forward about a year later, and me and my girl were still together, but now she's my Thai wife after we got married in a small village ceremony in Isan, where she is from. Things hadn't exactly been going the best between us. I mean, it wasn't a bad relationship, but she'd gotten more clingy, aggressive, and I could feel her temper change at the slightest of things. Anyway, one night that I can remember like it was yesterday, I just told my wife I needed to go to Bangkok and leave her back home for 10 days so I could handle some stuff. Of course, she thought I wanted to go back to Bangkok because she believed that I had another girl there and wanted to go and see her. She started going off the rails, screaming, shouting, throwing stuff around, and then it happened. She attacked me and she wouldn't stop. I had to run down to reception at the hotel and security came to calm her down. At this stage, the room had been trashed and I was covered in cuts and bruises. I told security that I wanted her out of the room as I was the one that was paying. When they finally got her out, I just sat there and waited for whatever else was to come my way. I wouldn't have kicked her out really, but the things that she was saying she'd do to me while I slept left me no choice. I actually feared for my safety, and that's no way to live. So they kicked her out and I locked the door behind them. A couple of minutes of silence and she's back at the room, banging on the door and screaming at me that the cops are on their way. And then silence again. It gave me time to think about what the hell was going on. I've got a crazy Thai girl chasing me. I'm stuck in her hometown in Isan. My Thai is barely good enough to order food, and I'm just a Farang. I'm completely done for. But then I thought, I've got money, and we all know that police love money. Once the police showed up, I tried to explain everything the best I could. Luckily, one of them spoke good English, but it didn't matter. They still said I had to go to the police station, even though I was pleading that it was her who did all of this. Even the money didn't help. I tried offering the money to the first 2 policemen all the way to the 20 others that got involved during the whole thing. Literally, nobody was taking the money. Either times had changed, or in that part of Thailand, that's not how they operate. I later found out that my Thai wife told the cops if I tried to give them money to get out of this, she'd report them to Bangkok police once she's back there and gets them into trouble. I was allowed to call someone, but the only person I thought to call was my friend who'd lived in Thailand for 10 years. He spoke Thai and I thought he could help me out. The only problem was, he lived in Bangkok. "Guess where I am," I said to him. "I'm in jail after being attacked by my wife." My mate's advice over the phone was straight to the point. "Keep your cool and don't lose your temper," he said. "Show some respect and I hope you have learnt your lesson. Good luck." I thought, great, worst advice ever, and now he thinks it's my fault as well. I have to say though, the cops were surprisingly decent to me, especially with all the BS my girl was feeding them. The cops kept asking why I did that to my wife, and I just told them, there's not a single mark on her. The only cuts and bruises are on me, not her. The cops gave me that polite smile Thais always have when they know that no matter what makes sense, they are the ones in charge. After all, it's their country, their rules, and their way of seeing things. I finally realised that there were no way out of this. Money wasn't working, and me explaining what happened was falling on deaf ears. Even with all the proof, they still acted like it was my fault. I knew I had to buckle and give in to my wife. I said to her, "Sorry, I shouldn't have said what I said, and I know you just acted out because you were angry. Can we please go home and forget about all of this?" Suddenly, she switched gears with the cops and asked if we could leave, but not before I had to sign papers promising to pay for the gold bracelet she smashed while she was in a rage. 30,000 baht. There was really little I could do at this point. If paying up meant I could get out of this mess, then so be it. Like I said, the cops were pretty decent, and at one point they even asked her, "You are married to this guy, so why do you want him locked up?" They could have all spoken Thai while I was around and worked out a better plan to scam me, but they stuck to English so I could understand everything, which I thought was pretty good on them. Anyway, I paid up and we went back to the hotel, to the displeasure of the hotel staff. When we got back, to my wife, it was like nothing had happened. She turned on the TV and cuddled up to me as if I hadn't just been through one of the most traumatic events in my life. Now, you guys might be thinking, I 100% left, right? I got rid of her and went back to Bangkok because I am a man. I wish I could say I did, but no, I stayed with her. The next morning, my wife and I went for breakfast at a local place close by, and while I was chatting with the cook in the kitchen, one of the cops from the night before showed up. He had a big grin on his face, and after a few beers, we were all having a good time. These kind of connections rarely come in handy, so if you want to avoid landing in deep waters, make some local friends in Thailand. Bar girls are great at dragging a farang into chaos, but they are usually useless when it comes to getting you out of it. A couple of days after that lovely experience of being in a jail cell after my wife snapped, with all that barely behind, my brain started going right back into sleep mode. We decided that we'd try and make a go of it and live in Pattaya. Don't ask me why I thought a fresh start together in Pattaya would do us any good, but we went for it. Things started off alright. Beach days, a bit of rest, and non-stop fun. Everything was smooth, except for one thing. She would not let me out of her sight, not even for a second. Just 1 hour to go and sort my visa, or a 30-minute trip to the bank, and she'd get jealous and think the worst, yelling at me as soon as I got back, saying I'd been to see another girl. I have to say, during all the time we were in Pattaya, I didn't go and see any other girls. I wasn't a bar girl type of man then. Most nights, I just went out to the bars that the locals go to, hanging out with some Thai and expat friends I made along the way. Those friendships really came through when I needed them. Every time that I was out with them, the phone kept ringing non-stop, and every time it was my wife on the other line. She'd always say the same thing, loud and clear. "You are with another lady. I know you, I hate you." You know, saying all the things to get at me, making out I am the worst man in the world. I'd even put my Thai friends on the phone, who'd tell her that we weren't with girls and we were just drinking, though that didn't exactly help. Then I'd go home and, without fail, catch the usual outburst from my wife. I guess it's on me for keeping big beer bottles around the house. Trust me, those things did way more damage when they are smashed against you than the smaller ones ever did. Luckily, my brain started working again. I knew I had to find a way to get myself out of that mess. After all the attacks, outbursts, fits of rage, and dealing with everything going on in Pattaya, I finally lost it. One night, we were out together, and one of the girls in the bar became very flirty with me, and with my wife. Although it was her job, and my wife knew this, she still went off on one and got extremely jealous, saying that I wanted to be with her. That again turned into a night of yelling and rage. The next day, covered in bruises, I got on the bus back to Bangkok with my wife. I told her straight up that I wasn't happy with how things were and that we needed to go our separate ways. I just couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't even recognize the weak man I'd become. She called up a friend and got some advice. Take off all your gold jewelry, stuff it in your pocket, and when you get to Bangkok, have your husband arrested for stealing it. My wife was decked out in around $3,000 worth of gold, and with the police report I already had in Isan, where I'd paid for the bracelet that she smashed, I figured the Bangkok cops wouldn't exactly trust me either. Then, before I could even think, randomly she flipped out again and started hitting me. Everyone on the bus just stared in shock. Nobody knew where to look or what to do, and that included me. We got off the bus in Ekamai in Bangkok and got into a taxi. The yelling did not stop. I couldn't even get a word in. My Thai is not great, but I caught enough to know that she was telling the taxi driver that I was a bad man and the police should come and get me. Again, I was worried about what would be coming my way, either from her, the taxi driver, or the police. When we got back to the hotel, she grabbed whatever she could from the room, and right in front of the staff, who'd known me for years, she pushed me across the face. That's when I thought, finally, I've got her doing it in front of someone that knows me. I told the hotel staff to call the police, but they looked scared and just shrugged it off, saying, "Don't worry, she will calm down in a few days." I really thought that people who knew me already and knew that I was a decent person would actually take my side after witnessing, in person, what my wife was putting me through. But I was wrong. Later that night, I called my friend in Bangkok. After living in the city for 10 years, he gave me the best lesson I've ever heard about Thai culture. He told me straight up, if you'd called the police, they would see all of this from the point of view that you are a Farang. Their logic goes like this. The girl threw her hand and it just so happened that your head was close by. If you hadn't come to Thailand, your head would never have been in the way. So the cops see nothing wrong with what she did, but they might still take you away. You are the Farang after all. Although the police have always been decent to me, that is actually their logic. They never saw it from my point of view. They saw it from the point of view of an outsider. So this was it. I had no help from anywhere. I had to do things by myself, and at this point, I won't lie, I was actually worried for my life. I knew she had a night out with her Bangkok friends planned soon, and that was my chance to pack up and escape. So that is exactly what I did. As soon as she left to meet her friends, I packed all my stuff, booked a different hotel out of the area, changed my SIM card, and deactivated all of my social media. I left her a note basically saying, "I can't live like this anymore. You've turned me into someone I don't even know. Maybe I'll be in touch in the future." Although I was sneaking away, I didn't want to just leave her empty-handed, so I left 30,000 baht next to the note, figuring that that would buy me some time. And that was just the start of 3 months on the run, hopping from area to area and sometimes switching hotel rooms 3 times in a single night just to be safe. I was paranoid, wasn't able to sleep properly, and always on guard. What a trip that turned out to be, a trip from any kind of sanity. I love Thailand, and I wish I could have stayed there or lived there full time. But after all the stress piled up, I finally packed up and escaped to Laos and then on to Vietnam to get some peace. At least I figured I'd be safe there. Well, that's what I thought anyway. Here is the upside to my story. Maybe you can learn from all the dumb mistakes that I made. When you are in Thailand, keep these things in mind. Number 1, be careful. You are not in your country anymore. You don't have the help you think you might have. The laws are different and the people are different. Number 2, if you decide you don't want to be with your Thai girlfriend anymore, expect there to be some kind of fallout. She may not take it very well. Number 3, even if a girl tries to hurt you, from her point of view, it's a logical reaction to the tough life she's had. Bar girls have been through some rough stuff, and a lot of them aren't exactly stable mentally. Getting mixed up with someone unstable will mess your life up, unless you think getting thrown in jail or chased by crazy people is something to be proud of. Number 4. It's often hard to tell what's real and what's made up, who's lying to you, and what is just drama. And here is maybe the most important thing. If you want to make it in Thailand, you've got to act Thai. And that probably means finding a regular girl with a normal job as your girlfriend or wife. At the end of the day, bar girls are mostly just a fun distraction. If that's what you are looking for, then that is what they are good at. Part of what they do sometimes includes lying, cheating, stealing, and yeah, in some cases, even worse if they think it's needed. But here's a warning. If you take one of these girls who seem innocent and helpless, bring her home and promise her a future and a life away from the bars, you are stepping into some serious trouble. Even though my story shows I'm not exactly the most generous guy out there, over the time we were together, I spent quite a bit of money on her and her family. Between medical bills, helping with living costs, buying gifts, and all the rest, I spent a hell of a lot. Honestly, it probably would have been cheaper just to hit up Nana Plaza or Pattaya every night. Most bar girls I've met are control freaks, though not everyone is like that. And really, isn't that what brought us all to Thailand to begin with, to try and find something better? Good luck out there.